Hey everyone, the Stoic guy is very upset.
Stoicism, I think, like Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, is so informative on so many levels. I mean, here you have somebody who was literally an emperor, and he's writing this journal in a tent in a battlefield. So his perspective is amazing. And he once wrote that the soul becomes dyed the color of its thoughts. And I think about that all the time. The cost to me of living.
I'm Rich Lauer of National Review, and that's a guy named Ryan Holiday, runs an outfit called The Daily Stoic, does podcasts, newsletters, writes popular books, popularizing and advocating for Stoicism. He is the foremost figure associated with Stoicism in modern American life. And there he is doing a reaction video. This is the way the internet works. Even our Stoics do reaction videos to Ivanka Trump, talking apparently very sincerely also about Stoicism in the teachings of Marcus Aurelius. And the reaction of Holiday is extremely negative and very bitchy. Now, not the worst reaction we've ever seen on the internet, obviously. I'm going to play some more. But what's interesting about this is that here is a guy who is steeped, legitimately steeped in Stoic teachings, but can't see that he has fallen prey to what Stoicism warns against. It's a contest between the power of Marcus Aurelius and Seneca on the one hand, and the power of Trump derangement syndrome on the other. And the derangement syndrome wins hands down. Here's some more.
Living in a way that's inconsistent and not aligned with what feels right, what models the right thing for my children, what feels inherently true to me, it's too expensive.
I mean, look, here's the thing. She's totally right. That's exactly what Marcus Aurelius said. That's exactly what Stoicism is about. She's just not living or acting in accordance with it in any way. If you did, you'd have an intervention with your dad, whose life would be dyed with his horrible, negative, mean, bullying thoughts all the time.
So you think Holiday would be pleased that at least she's accurately reflecting the teachings of Aurelius and holding that ideal up for others, if nothing else. And we should assume, by the way, trying to live up to them herself. Isn't that praiseworthy, commendable? No, it's not, because she is Ivanka Trump, and that last name is the problem. Because of that last name, she is responsible for the acts of others in the family, including her father. And Holiday says that she should stage an intervention, and that's the only way she would live up to the Stoic ideal. This is ridiculous on a couple levels. Get into some more of them in a minute. But first of all, maybe she's thought about having intervention with her father and has thought it wouldn't work, or it be counterproductive, or it might damage this key relationship in her life. How does Holiday know? How does Holiday know what she's thinking? Has he talked to her about it? No, he probably wouldn't even deign to speak to her. Maybe she's had an intervention for all we know, and it hasn't worked on Holiday's and producing the results that Holiday would like to see. By the way, she was very involved in the first term, and then pretty much after the 2020 election controversy, took a step back. So maybe there's something going on there. Again, Holiday doesn't know. And the key thing is he doesn't care. He's going to condemn her anyway. Here's some more.
I'll give you another great Marcus Aurelius quote, Ivanka. He says, waste no more time talking about what a good person is like. Just fucking be one.
So she's a bad person. He is condemning her as a bad person when he really knows nothing about her. Now, look, I'm not an expert on Stoicism at all. Doesn't really interest me. Obviously, an important thread in the history of Western philosophy, influential with early Christian thinkers, helped give us the concept of natural law. All that is really important. But I'm a Christian, so I'm fine with Stoicism to the extent it overlaps with Christian teachings. Otherwise, I'm not really interested in it. But clearly, this Holiday's reaction is not stoical at all. The way he is treating Ivanka Trump is not stoical at all. And I want to go to a couple quotes that show this. I want to give credit to Mike Schellenberger, who did a video about Holiday's reaction to Ivanka, where he noted some of these passages. First, here's Marcus Aurelius. I have to be really careful about judging other people. This, I believe, is from book 11 of the Meditations. He said, "Consider that you do not even understand whether men are doing wrong or not, for many things are done with a certain reference to circumstances. And in short, a man must learn a great deal to enable him to pass a correct judgment on another man's acts." Again, given that Holiday basically knows nothing about Ivanka Trump, Marcus Aurelius clearly would disapprove of how he's handling this. Then there's some more. This is from the Stoic writer Epictetus. Some things are in our power and others are not. Obviously, it's not in Holiday's power how Ivanka Trump interacts with her father. One. Two, it's not hugely important. His assumption is that Ivanka controls her dad. Again, she doesn't. And that relationship, Stoics recognize, as anyone with any wisdom would, that relationship with the father is crucially important. Epictetus again, duties are universally measured by relations. Is a man your father? That implies that you must take care of him, that you must obey him, and you must bear his reproaches and strikes, meaning getting hit by your father. But is he a bad father? Surely you're not bound by nature to a good father, just to a father. Does that go too far? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not the Stoic. And by the way, Holiday, he knows all this material. He's clearly deeply steeped in this stuff. He's not a scholar. He's not reading it in the original Latin or Greek. But I just took one of his podcast episodes at random and came up with this.
So when we deal with difficult people, we go, look, is a world without these people possible? No, it's not. It's not surprising that we met them. And by the way, they're doing their job. That's what they were assigned. That's who they are. That's the part of the whole, the complicated whole cloth fabric of humanity. That's what they are doing. They are being them. And you're lucky you get to be you, which is not one of those people. You don't have to be like them, but you do have to accept that they exist.
So Holiday is really not living up to a Stoicism. Apparently, who knows, not even really attempting to live up to a Stoicism here. And people have pointed out, and he really doesn't like that. Here he is responding to Michael Schellenberger, who I mentioned earlier. LOL. This is so hilarious. What kind of crime do you have to commit in a past life to be condemned to white knight for a member of the most corrupt family in the history of American politics? You're an effing goober. I'm going to say the Stoic thing to do would be to delete that tweet. Here's another one. He's responding to John Conrad's analysis of the whole affair. Conrad apparently used to be a friend. Here's the meme. I don't think about you at all. Here's another one responding to a critical piece. Drops another LOL and just summarizing here. He says, if there was anything to be mad about these days, I think objecting to people lighting the world on fire so they can make a killing in prediction markets and kickbacks is probably it. The idea, which he seems to be suggesting there, that Trump launched the Iran war in order to make lots of money on winning bets in the prediction markets, is insane. And again, has nothing to do with Ivanka Trump. No one has ever accused of Ivanka Trump of playing the prediction market so she could benefit from her father's foreign policy. So this is the crux of the problem. Here's a guy who is an advocate for really sophisticated philosophical tradition that's in the grips of the most simplistic anti-Trumpism. Here he was at an event not too long ago, sounding every bit like Beto O'Rourke.
A Pakistocracy is when the least qualified, the least competent, the least scrupulous, and the worst people are in charge. That's the remarkable thing about this moment that we're in right now, which is it's really bad. But it would be worse if any of these idiots knew what they were doing. They call this the mediocre to MAGA pipeline. And I would say that in many ways that's an insult to mediocre. There are plenty of mediocre people out there that do just fine and don't screw up the entire world.
Now that's the most thoughtless, insult comic level political commentary. You'd think a Stoic would want to do better, but it just shows that Trump hatred can triumph over even the most formidable philosophical obstacles. I'm sure the ancients have something to tell us even about that, but I'm certainly not going to go to the Daily Stoic to try to find out. I'm Rich Lowry, over and out.